live. So, peace, everybody. Bargani Islam, Salam, Hetepu, Rahubat, General Ninani, Chief Noble Bandele Elamine back in the building. And tonight we have my brother Amen Maat-Ra back in the building again. This is my comrade. We've been, building and building for years and years. So I got my brother in the building. Yes, sir.
And blessings to the family.
Yes, sir. And tonight we're going to get into the Kemetic God Noon, the primordial waters of heaven and the physical realm. All right. So it's gonna get heavy tonight, man. It's gonna get heavy tonight. Let me put your book out here. So, like I said, y'all know, brother, I'm in my outrod. Y'all know who gets down. And here's his book up. You can go ahead and get into your book real quick.
Okay. Appreciate you. Give me a chance to set up.
Nah, yeah, you good. Yeah, I mean, you could have kept it up a little longer, but that's his book. Y'all can get the book
Oh, I'm
on
sorry. Hold
Amazon.
on.
Y'all can get that book on Amazon.com, or y'all can also go to indigenousmoors.org to get that book. So just letting y'all know what it is. Uh, but yeah, go ahead and set it up, and then
Okay.
you can talk about it real quick.
We're gonna go
Because
ahead and go to the
my brother,
presentation.
the brother's an author, y'all. Y'all gotta support the brother, man. Like we both authors, so y'all really need to support us and support the brother because he got good work.
So share the book real quick before we go into it. Or are you
Yeah,
ready
yeah.
for
I was
me?
just saying you can put it up. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I was just
Okay.
saying, like you took it down so fast. I don't know if they seen it or not. Islam, brother Yakub in the building. I seen you, man. We gotta get together, man. You gotta let's get this work, bro. Let's get this work, Yakub. But anyway, all right. Let me show it again real quick, y'all. Y'all go ahead and look at this. So this is one of his books. Um, one of many of his books, and it's what is the Amen Raw Illusion Value. This is volume 2. So, like I said, the brother be dropping this knowledge. Like the brother is, like I've known this brother for a long time, and he's very in depth in Kemetic philosophy and Kemetic, like breaking down like the glyphs. So he's really in there, and also into West African and other stuff. But I know he's really into the Kemetic sciences. So this right here, what we about to get into, hopefully this is gonna be some good stuff, man. But go ahead. I just wanted to
Oh, no
you know,
doubt. It's always a pleasure to build with the family and be on your show. So let me
yeah.
go ahead. Let's get started.
Y'all thumbs up like this video. Please get into it. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
All right. Now, this is coming from chapter 6, Sun Rising from the Primordial Waters. I thought this would be a great topic of discussion for tonight being a full moon. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, in Kemet, the special moment that led to the emergence of our amazing universe was called Septepi. Now, this means creation, the first occurrence, occasion, the beginning of time, which is the first perception of time when the Necharu or the gods walked the earth and ruled the planet. We also have the Rainy Kemet term. Rainy Kemet is the actual term that our ancestors used for their spoken language. So for the writing script, it was called Medu Necher. Generically, a lot of scholars use that term to encompass the language in the script, but Medu Necher is a reference to the writing script. Ronnie Kemet, the voice of Ra, whatever, that's the actual name for the spoken language itself. So the term Paut Tepet, here is where we see the term, which means beginning of time, generations, which also is a reference to when you start to see sentient beings and conscious life start to emerge from the primordial darkness. Now, here is a Medu Neter rendering of the Neter at hand. Uh, Known is a condensation of his name. It's just a reduction. Often you see his name rendered as Nunu. and it's spelled in numerous ways. Often the W for some reason is left off, but in the actual transliteration, we see here the NWNW because they didn't include the vowels or whatever. So here we see the deified aspect of the primeval waters from which everything emerged that we see today in this universe. Now, the first occasion, Septepi and Kemet marked an absolute rupture between the before, when there was actually something indistinct with no apparent detectable activity, and the after, when the process of creation was definitely set in motion. This was the starting point of the process of creation. Now, noon was an unformed and pitch black celestial mass, for light had not yet even been created in which divine beings or deceased humans or extraterrestrial beings had achieved divine status could circulate within. The Remech, which is the actual term that the ancient Egyptians called themselves, reckoned that the moment of the first occasion or septepi of creation was undatable. Now, however, once there was an occasion, it had to reduce itself, and it did this in an incalculable manner numbers of times. So,
Right.
the glyphs of ceramic bowls that we see, let me go back here. When we see the hieroglyphic spelling of noon, we see ceramic pots featured as a standout feature in the spelling that you can easily, when you see these pots, that's one of the indicators that you're dealing with this creation god. Now, the glyphs of the ceramic bowls, which are classified under Gardner as W24, they're used to spell the name noon, and they have a phonetic value. That's where you get the NW value for when you translate it from the glyphs. So you have monoliterals, which are glyphs that represent one specific letter, like the English language. Then we have what are known as bilaterals, which are glyphs that represent two letters, often not found in our language. And then we have trilaterals, which are glyphs that feature a three-letter consonant sequence. Now, the letter noon represents the life-giving compound of water. Now, however, noon, which is also spelled nunu, is also the limitless, boundless, undefined, unformed, and primordial fabric of space-time that forms the living black ocean from which suns, quasars, atoms, and molecules are formed from. All life flows from the roaring celestial waterways of the noon. Now, the average human body is composed of roughly 55% to 60% water. Now, the
Okay.
Kemetic word noon means watery one, abyss, inert one. Keep in mind this watery one and keep in mind this abyss, because that's this abyss definition is going to come up later on. Life is derived from and sustained by the water element. Our beautiful universe would be barren and desolate without the compound of water. Now, here's just a fun fact. Like, there's some people that deal with elemental rituals and everything to the earth, air, fire, and water. One thing we must keep in mind is that water is not actually an element; it's a compound of hydrogen and oxygen or whatever bound together. So that's just something to keep in mind. Among the Dogon people in their cosmology, the Netcher Nunu is called Nomo. So when we go amongst the Dogon people, when we start making this push toward Western Africa, we see this notion of noon and the operations and functions that take place pre-creation phase here among the Dogon, and his name is Nomo. Now, in an earlier text, I go deeper into the Dogon cosmology, and which is pretty amazing because they
Hmm.
even give signs and symbols of what life looked like as light filaments, which is amazing. You would think that they had access to a microscope of some sort. Moving
Okay.
forward, now we need to go to our primary sources, which are first-hand attestations of the deities at hand. So for our visualizations, we have an understanding of how our ancestors portray these two forces. Here to the left-hand corner is the feminine aspect. This is the goddess Nunet. And we know this because often, like here, we see the god Noon. Often we see these representations for nature and various figures in temple reliefs. And they can easily be mistaken for different netchers and netcherettes, goddesses. What we're looking for is often distinguishing glyphs. If you look here, if you can see my arrow above Nunet's to the left head, if you look up here, you see these symbols. They're fairly worn away, but for the most part, what you're looking at is Jed-En, the divine words of the goddess Nunet. So here we see her name spelled out, a specific formula of the goddess Nunet, and here we see her seated. And we see the feminine article T in this instance right here, up under the pet glyph. And here, if we look to the extreme right, above the head of this blue figure right here, we see inscription here, Jed-En, the divine words of the Necher Nu, more fuller form of his name. Here you see it up under the Merglyph, and you see him seated right here. Now, this is a temple-based relief of the seated Black African goddess Nunet and Nun. And again, this is a temple relief. Here's a better image, so you get a fuller image. The next image that we want to take note of, again, if you look in the upper left-hand quadrant, because of the scene of this particular temple, here you see her face has been edged off. It's no longer there. It's eroded. But here again, we see a different spelling because there are multiple ways to spell the goddess name's Nunet. Here again, we see again the egg. Here we see the feminine aspects, letting you know that this is the feminine aspect of pre-creation of primordial waters. And here we see another fuller name for the god Nun or Nunu. Now, what we do notice here is that here, if you notice this depiction, Nun has the head of a frog. And in this depiction, she has the head of a serpent.
So what's that about?
I'm glad you asked, my brother. Now, when we're dealing with pre-creation, the realm that existed before our actual universe was created, and there was physical material substances, star systems, or anything, you had this realm. And in the Heliopolis, hold on, let's see here. The Heliopolis system, they were known as a Kemetic. Hold on, let's see. Let's go down so I can go through it here. These are the Neteru of the primordial ocean, the god Nun with the frog head, because often the goddess Nunet represented with the cobra head, like other male and female members of the Kemenites, because in the Greeks they call them the Ogdad. The Ogdad were talked about. I don't know if you guys remember the old movie Hellboy, the original one. They talked about the Ogdad raising these demons that existed before time and things of this nature. Well, the Ogdad, these are 8 Neteru, and they're broke up into divine married couples of an African man and an African woman, and they form the sparks in pre-creation that led to the organization of the reality we see today. Now, this was I love this because this rendition is just so amazing. I thought that the artists of Hermopolis were just amazing. I thought the color scheme, the way that they implied the Medu Nature and made use of the names and the fuller names and the glyphs and actual fuller spellings that they used to convey their message. I just thought that in itself was poetic, the way these glyphs are laid out. And we're going to get into those a little bit deeper. So, these are the pre-creation stages of the universe that are currently studied in modern astrophysics and quantum mechanics. Now, this is just one pair, and there are 3 more. This is the god Nunet, and of course, Nun. We also had He and Hehet, which represent infinity and, the unboundedness that existed before creation. We also have Kek and Keket. Now, this is the primordial of darkness. That out of light out of darkness came light. This is what our ancestors referred to that dynamic as. And I try to provide the best glyph work I can, because often when you go to Wikipedia, they don't give you the full translation, interpretations. They're not providing a full understanding of the glyph work. So next after that, here we go, Nun and Nun at the primordial waters. And then, of course, last but not least, we have the goddess Emanet and the god Amen, which represents the invisible, the hidden, the unperceivable, and then the revelation. Now, this is from, like I said, this is from the temple of Hathor, or some call Het Heru, from the temple of Dundara. So this temple that was dedicated to Het Heru or Hathor, who the Greeks called or whatever, amazing cosmology stories. So in the temples of the goddess, you will find some of these most amazing scientific and spiritual explanations for how our universe was created. Moving
Okay.
forward, here
Y'all
is a
give a thumbs up. Y'all give a like, thumbs up. If y'all like this video, keep it all right, my brother. Keep it going.
now here is a hieroglyphic spelling of Nunet, so we understand what this looks like for the goddess. Now, again, the deified feminine aspect of the primordial waters of creation. Now, Nunet, also spelled Nunet and various, she's the wife. Just like other deities in the tree of life system, when we analyze the various spellings for the name of the Net Church, which is the feminine term for goddess, Nunet, we discovered that she represents a host of different qualities that play a role in creation and the maintenance of life that may go unnoticed. The goddess Nunet is identified with liquid water, and her name is spelled in Medu Neter with an actual water ripple glyph. Now, this glyph is cataloged in the Gardner as the N35, and here we see the water ripples. I'm building up to something. So
Okay.
before we
Okay.
deal with,
Y'all stay with us. Stay with us, y'all.
so don't get bored, don't lose me, because before we get into anything deep, we have to understand the glyphs. So when you see the glyphs, you understand what you're looking at. So these are water ripples, which
Right.
represents the letter N. Now, the water ripple glyph, or the letter N, is also used as a suffix pronoun or a pronominal suffix. This is technical linguistic talk, meaning we, us, our. So it's inclusive. So sometimes when you see these water glyphs, sometimes what's implied is a sense of belonging, a sense of us, a sense of ourness. So keep that in mind too. We, us, our, when we start getting into this deeper understanding of these water ripples. A good example of the word is depits in, which means our boat, a sense of community. Here we have other spellings. MEU, new, residents of the noon, those who are in the noon. This is another hieroglyphic spelling that we must understand. Keep this in mind. Residents of the noon, those who are in the noon. And here we see a different spelling of the glyph, still featuring the water ripples and the pots. Now, despite being associated with water, Nunet's name is also spelled with the pet glyph, and that's that bar glyph right here, which means sky and heaven. The
Okay.
word Nebpet means Lord of Heaven. That is because our melanated ancestors understood metaphorically that there are what equates to oceans of water vapor in the Earth's atmosphere flowing above our heads every time it rains and storms. Now, the Neteru of Kemet represents spiritual and scientific aspects of nature that play a role in creation, maintenance, and the perpetuation of all life. Nunet is the enigmatic black goddess of the subjection realm of creation. She governs with noon and brings a mandatory balance to the waters of creation. And she is the primordial abyss that existed before the first human ancestor.
Mm.
Now, the Big Bang Theory shares a lot of significant similarities with traditional African cosmology. So, how we have modern science today speaking of a Big Bang that brought life into the universe, we see a similar model with our ancestors that we're about to go into. In particular,
Mm.
Kemet that attempt to explain the creation and evolution of our living universe. Now, the Big Bang Theory, that's the leading scientific explanation of the origin, expansion, and evolution of our universe. Now, it posits that the universe began and expanded from an extremely hot, dense state, often described as a singularity, which are mysterious regions of space where the density of matter and curvature of space-time becomes infinite, like a black hole.
You said like a black hole?
Like a black hole. It's not a black hole, but it's a
Hmm.
it's a it's an object, it's a thing in space and time that commands so much gravity that it opens up the fabric of space and time. And it mimics at its core, it mimics what we would see as another expression as a black hole.
Hmm.
Now, singularities are predicted to occur in all black holes and
Okay.
also in certain models of the universe where you see neither. You see these singularities appear. and the universe has been expanding and cooling ever since. Now, the expansion of our universe is still going on with the space between galaxies, increasing constantly over time. While it's not a perfect model, some details are still being investigated. The working theory has stood the test of time, and it continues to be refined with new discoveries and technologies.
Okay.
The early universe experience, now, bear with me, I have to go through this because when we say the waters, we have to explain to you what these water ripples mean on different levels of initiation, higher levels of science and chemistry.
Okay.
Now, the early universe experienced what is referred to as a liquid soup stage. So, just how our ancestors talked about how the universe had this primordial ocean, here we also have our top scientists saying the same thing. They call it the liquid soup stage. Immediately after the impactful Big Bang, the universe was incredibly hot and dense. It existed in a state known as a quark gluon plasma, QGP, often described. Now, you can go to any of your quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and all your various science studies on the evolution of the universe. And it's often described as a primordial soup. So just as our ancestors had a primordial soup, noon and noonette, now modern science has found a primordial soup, or a liquid soup composed of the essential building block ingredients of life. Now, why is this stage of our infant universe considered to be a liquid soup? It's due to extreme conditions. After the Big Bang, the temperatures exceeded 2 trillion degrees Celsius, creating an environment where quarks and gluons, the fundamental building blocks, they can move freely and then without being bound together. So that's where you get this raging ocean of creation bursting forth to where space where there was none charted. Now, experimental evidence from particle accelerators like the Large Hadron Collider. This is at CERN. You can go to CERN Institute. You can pull up this information. They have great information for the general public and our children. Now they suggest that this QGP matter behave more like a perfect liquid, which we call noon and noonette and Kemetic, with extremely low viscosity, meaning it flowed with almost no resistance. This liquid-like nature distinguishes it from a gas, which was initially hypothesized. Now, the age of our universe is estimated to be 13.8 billion years. Today, we know from radiometric dating that our Earth, is 4.5 billion years old, roughly. Now, the evolution of our universe is derived from this liquid soup state, which is associated with the watery celestial netter Noon and the goddess Nunet in Kemet. So we're going to go 5.
Hey, this is heavy.
So,
hey, this getting deep, man. This is getting deep. Go ahead, man.
Let me get a sip of water. We're about to take flight here.
Yeah, y'all can thumbs up this video, man. Y'all can need these likes up. Like these videos.
Because I appreciate the patience, because we have to go through this to show what the universe is doing and showing how our children and anybody curious listening to this presentation, how you can go to the CERN Institute and you can pull for this information and get in and enjoy this. So, as our universe expanded, we're talking this equation under here, we're talking about a period of under 3 seconds, fractions of a second. So this is called the Hadron epoch. This was the phase, this watery phase for forming the physical matter observed today, including the stars, galaxy, flesh and bone, and everything else in our universe. Now, knowing how our ancestors viewed water as being sacred and an essential building block and element in creating universes. Now, just imagine the planet Earth. Our planet is primarily water. Now imagine, I'm gonna give you a choice, A, B, or C. If our ancestors viewed water as sacred and as something that we could use on a spiritual level and on an everyday practical level, if I gave you the option and said I could give you access to 10 times more water than you could ever find on Earth, would that be a good and amazing deal?
That would be, yeah.
What if I said 100 for selection B, and then for selection C, I offered 1,000? Which one would you say I'm going to lean towards?
I mean, being greedy, I'm gonna say C. You
All
feel
right,
me?
now C, 1,000 times more water than you
Yeah.
could ever find on the planet Earth. I'm going to do you even better. The Neter Nu and the goddess Nunet express themselves in extraordinary physical, spiritual ways throughout our universe. A great example being Quasar APM 08279 plus 5255, which is surrounded by an enormous ancient cloud of water vapor in outer space containing 140 trillion times the water found in Earth's collective bodies of water. Let me
What?
let me
Hold up.
let me repeat this again.
Hold up. Yeah.
I want to introduce this to the family. I want to introduce the goddess to the family. Quasar APM 08279 plus 5255. It is surrounded by an ocean of water in outer space containing 140 trillion times water found in Earth's collective bodies of water. This prehistoric ocean hovering deep in outer space is large enough to completely flood and destroy every single planet and moon in our solar system. There is enough
What?
water to flood Mars, Jupiter, Earth, Venus, Mercury. If you want to include Pluto into the family, go ahead and make Pluto a planet again. Pluto would
Yo,
be flooded out.
hold up, man. So where is this at?
We're about to get this. This is Quasar APM 08279 plus 5255. Those are the coordinates and
Wow.
description. So
Yeah,
you can find it precisely on the James Webb Telescope.
that's crazy.
That's our newer telescopes that go deeper into the universe, closer to when our universe was created. Now let's go deeper after this.
That's
Let's get some
crazy.
images. Now let's go after this so we can show you a picture of this beauty. Nunu, celestial ocean. Remember when I said that water ripple can also mean we, us, our, a sense of family, a sense of camaraderie, a sense of coming together? Here we see some of the oldest manifestations of the goddess Noon and the goddess Noonet orbiting in outer space. And here is the quasar at hand. If you notice, it's similar. This is feeding a black hole, and this feeding black hole is creating so much energy that
That's
it is
crazy.
literally erupting out of this endless ocean of water.
That's
This is
crazy. Oh my.
over 100 trillion, 100 trillion Earths worth of water.
Hold on. I mean, so are you saying like when they talking about that in the Kemetic philosophy, are they? Is this what we're talking about here, or
I
what?
I am presenting to the family that this base relief of the African water goddess Nunet, the deified aspect of the primordial waters of creation, this is what they were talking about. These were some of the
That's deep.
zones of activity before creation and immediately after creation. Now, this is the depiction of the quasar, because now this quasar that I gave you, this is also part of a consuming black hole. So you are talking about pure power. I
Hold
mean,
on.
it is hard. We're going to go deeper. Let me read out the stats.
Hey, y'all, man, y'all check this out, man. Hit them like buttons, man. Y'all got questions? Y'all got questions? Please hit us in the comments. Go ahead, brother.
And if you notice, remember when I showed you the old god or the Kemetic, how they broke down? They took 8 gods, four
Right.
men, 4 women. The men had heads of frogs because frogs are known for their fertility. But when we get into the quantum realm, what are quarks and quantum particles known to do? They're known to just jump and hop up out of nowhere, in and out of
Oh,
our three-dimensional spatial awareness.
wow.
What is another attribute of string theory? The exact same spiraling motions that this goddess's head makes as a cobra. That spiraling motion of creation, this same spiraling motion we're seeing imitated here with the goddess.
So we talking about DNA, like DNA. You know what I mean?
Amazing, right? The DNA spirals.
Okay.
We see that in the helix. But in this
Right.
instance, we're seeing how we see that pattern in creation as far as on a galactic level.
Right.
So here This depiction of the quasar, this is from NASA. This massive water vapor ocean is spread across a gaseous region. Listen to this, hundreds of light years wide. We're talking about thousands of miles, hundreds of thousands of miles wide, millions of miles by our calculation. This indicates that the quasar bathes the gas in X rays and infrared radiation, making the gas unusually warm and dense by astronomical standards. While the gas temperature is a frigid minus 63 degrees Fahrenheit, it is still 5 times hotter and 10 to 100 times denser than any typical galactic environment. So imagine coming to this region and seeing this, and our ancestors bathing in this. The Melanated causative verb sejer means consecrate, hallow, sanctified, clear away, solemnly record. The term sesheta means, remember we were just talking about this brother before the presentation? Here's the hieroglyphic spelling for libation, water,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
water. And we
Yes, sir.
have the title, in the living and amongst the dead, you see our ancestors, Ibhu, libation priest.
Hey, is this like the original holy water? Is that
This
what you're
is
saying?
where we're going. This
The
is where
original
we're
holy.
going with
This
it.
is the original holy water, y'all. I say,
Ashe.
yes, sir.
We're going to let the ancestors speak today. So here we see the glyph work for our priests that were specifically dedicated to offering libation to our ancestors. Quasar APM 08279 is estimated to be 2.2 to 3 billion years old, and it arguably serves as an ancient sacred site for some of our choice ancestors, traditional indigenous healers, high priestesses, high priests, Yoruba devotees of the Orisha Yemaya, the black water goddess or force of nature, who is recognized on earth as the Ogun River of Nigeria, West Africa.
I say.
Our deceased honorable loved ones, our deceased children, and our enigmatic spiritual beings from different regions of the universe. They come here to make a sacred cosmic pilgrimage to safely congregate for adept spiritual rites of passage, healing rituals, and spiritual purification rituals. As an example,
Hold on, man. Hold on. So what are you saying? Like you saying that they go to this quasar, that particular quasar, to do these things? Is that what you're saying? Too.
I'm saying this is a gathering of the ancestors. This is where not all, but a choice few.
Right. I got you.
We all had that amazing restaurant. We all had that one spot we go to shop at where it's niche. Not everybody knows about it. If you don't advertise, everybody's not going. But if you know, you know. And if you're aware of what was going on in the goddess mind, in her aspect of creation. So you have Amen as the masculine, and then you have this nurturing energy too that goes into effect when you're creating the universe. I believe that these are magnets for our ancestors, the Necharu, these forces of nature, these deities, these angelic beings Christians talk about, or however you want to define this. And I believe this is somewhere some of our children who leave us too soon that are going to be beautiful lights, but they didn't get a chance to shine on earth. This is where they come. This is where you come for an interstellar water baptismal. This is where you come for an interstellar banishing ritual. This is where you come for an interstellar divination ritual. This is where your rites of passage goes when you leave this earthly body that you become attached to. This is where you go back to. This is your Mecca. Your Mecca has nothing to do with Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. This is long before this.
Yes, sir.
To reinforce the incredibly ancient age of these primordial waters of creation, quantum physics, mechanics, dark matter, dark energy. Remember when I told you the other deities that were primordial darkness, invisibility? Notice how they line up with this?
Yes, sir.
Dark matter, dark energy, Kek and Keket, eternal darkness. So represented by the netter that formed the old God. Now, in the life-giving water that permeate our universe. Now, the scholarly scribes, which were called Seshu and Kemet, they also use a special spelling of the term noon in reference to the primordial waters. And it featured, and it's funny, the A19 classifier of an African elder man leaning over using an assistive cane. And you see this term in like elder, eldest, to attain old age. And here again, pay attention to how we're using these glyphs. Old man, and even an old woman. Take notice of how the Medu Neter spelling for Ayat, old woman, if you pay attention, our ancestors were wise and intelligent beyond their years, but because they knew there is no way in a sane, rational world that you could be safely an old woman without an old man by your side. Even if he is leaned over in a cane, just barely getting by, you
That's
need
right.
to get through together.
That's
So
right.
take notice. You old man. The old man can hang. He's going through the trek by himself if he has to. But you notice how our ancestors put the man and the woman when you make the reference to elder women. Our
Yeah.
ancestors did not believe in strong, independent women that were left alone and left unprotected in our community. We were expected to be just like the Necher god, Necheret goddess. We were expected to form divine pairs. So the
Hmm.
Necher Noon also reminds us of the great role water plays to life throughout the universe. Water can take the form of a gas, liquid, or solid.
Check.
You know, now this gaseous water vapor I was talking about, it's located 12 billion light years away and surrounds a supermassive black hole. While the cloud is incredibly vast, it's also surprisingly warm and dense. So imagine our ancestors coming into this region of space, and not only are you dealing with 100 trillion times more water than you will ever find in any planet that you can combine in our solar system, on top of it being 100 trillion more water, it's warm. So imagine the spiritual transition. You're in the depths of freezing outer space, and you come across almost an endless, basically a small solar system of water, a small a baptismal pond the size of a small solar system. So this takes when you hear these old Negro spirituals wade in the water, this takes on a whole different vibration when you look at what our ancestors were facing.
Man, hey man, I ain't gonna lie, man. You've been going in, man. You've been going in tonight.
So
This is
here
crazy.
I want to show more glyph work so we can show again. This is another picture of NASA showing, if you look, if you can see my arrow, look at this water vapor.
So
Look
that's
at this.
all water.
Yes, this is water and various complex gases, some debris that is orbiting around that black hole. Now remember how I said it's
Hold
12
on. So hold on. So water, like you saying, like water around a black
water
hole.
vapor.
Right? Water vapor being around a black hole. Now, I just want to interject. You know, we talk about hydrogen a lot. So, how
Yes.
is this playing in, like, to the understand, like, when they talk about hydrogen being above and below, and all those
Oh,
type of things? I
well,
mean, you have
that's a
anything?
generic understanding because, like, when we deal with actual liquid water in the gaseous state, we're talking about various elements coming together on a periodical table. So, to make the water, it's actually a compound. So, you would have the oxygen and the hydrogen binding together because of the turbulence that's caused in this black hole. Before you get to the event horizon or the ring, you have a culmination, a cauldron of forces, and they're forging elements. And it's almost like putting that fan. Remember when you had no AC and you put the
Yeah.
fan and face it outside of your window or whatever
Yeah.
to suck out the heat and the moisture or whatever. Well, it's spewing out hydrogen, oxygen,
Mm.
and all these rich, essential, fundamental elements. And they're congregating because of the heat, and they're fusing and they're forming a vapor like a giant tea kettle. So the black hole and the galaxy, there's a galaxy around this massive black hole, and this galaxy is rotating around this massive black hole. That rotation of that galaxy, the turbulence of that black hole is creating a singularity or a point in space and time that is consuming so much energy, it's erupting and throwing up energy and light. And even though it's 12 billion years away, light years away, we can see it. And it's one of the brightest events in the sky. Now, once you have the right telescope, even though this took place billions of years ago, this, listen to what I'm saying, family. Although this was several billion years ago, this light, it takes this light that you're seeing right here, billions of years to reach our eyes. And it is still casting light from not too long after our observable universe was created. Now,
So
this
it's
is,
you saying it's been casting light for billions of years.
yes, and it takes billions of years to reach our eyes. But the light, this jet stream of light that you see, is so powerful that even billions of years ago, during not too long ago after the universe was formed, it is still projecting this stream of charged particles, and they can reach your telescope
That's
and bathe
crazy.
us in light. And it is one of the brightest objects you or phenomenon you will find.
So what would you like? So you say we can see this with the telescope?
Oh, let me go a little bit deeper.
All
Okay,
right, just
now
break it down.
now if you want to find out deeper, like how this really works, APM 08279, it's a quasar located in the constellation Lynx. So you want to go and start looking into the constellation Lynx. For those that are into meditation, this is the constellation you want to focus on. This is an amazing meditation on a journey our ancestors make for spiritual healing and cleansing and rite of passage rituals.
Wow. Okay, you going, man? You going? Hey, this crazy, man. This is like This is like galactic. Like, go ahead, man. I'm not gonna say that.
Because
Go ahead.
remember, when you see Noon in this form, they're not playing. Anytime you see these deities with the head of a frog and a woman with the head of a serpent, you're dealing with high initiation. They're dealing with adept rituals, creation, manipulation of matter, time, space, transmutation of elements from one element to another. You're dealing with the highest sciences. Now, well, again, this is the constellation of Lynx, Lynx, and it contains 100 trillion times more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Now, despite being 100,000 times more massive than the sun, listen to what I'm saying. This quasar is 100,000 times more massive than our sun. So this ocean is would literally drown our sun and put it out. Just imagine our sun as a candle, and you taking 2 buckets of water for one tea light candle. Imagine what 2 buckets of water would do to one tea light candle.
That's
That's what
crazy,
you're
man.
looking at. That's the comparison. It would be overkill. That tea light candle would get washed away. This get Noon and his wife could flood out our sun.
I got you.
Now, this is another NASA picture. This quasar is so distant that it took 12 billion years for its light to reach our planet Earth. NASA, this is his interpretation of the feeding black hole, where the astronomers discovered huge amounts of water vapor, like gas and dust, likely from the torus or this ring formed around the central black hole, with the clouds of charged gas above and below. X-rays emerge from the very central region, while the thermal infrared radiation is emitted by dust. So even at dust, everything is it's it's almost as if somebody paid for a large, heated, celestial, spiritual pool to do rituals with in the center of deep outer space. Because nowhere else are you going to find, on average, you're not going to find warm water vapor, warm oceanic water like situations hovering, orbiting in outer space.
Nah.
So the term quasar originated as a contraction of quasi-stellar. like a radio source, because they were first identified in the 1950s as sources of radio wave emissions unknown. And when they were identified, they started changing the names or whatever.
Okay.
Now,
I got you.
this discovery had a water vapor cloud, which forms a mysterious immense ocean of water circling outer space that could literally flood every planet and moon in the Earth's galaxy, formed by the African goddess Noon, and the goddess Noon so early in the universe history suggests that the building blocks of life were available much earlier than previously thought. So now even scientists, after they come to realization and fully study this quasar, they're having to go and rethink creation because of what this quasar is doing, and this massive amount of water is producing and energy is emitting.
Now I want to interject too. I mean, like just to go, when we look at what they give us biblically, I mean, they talk about the waters in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Okay, just throwing that out there. Like they giving us a piece of it right there, but they're not going into it, but they're giving us that piece in the Bible. All right.
Now, are you able to see my face while I'm speaking?
Yeah, I see everything, bro.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So now we're gonna go over this. Now it's time to deal with, I think, are tools that'll help for ritual meditation. If you're in yoga, qigong, whatever visual meditations, we'll go into this aspect of the speech. And well, I like to provide the glyph works too, so we can see what I'm talking about. As
Yes.
far as honoring and venerating the Neter Noon and the Neter goddess Nunet. The word for juniper in the Medu Neter script is wan, and here we have this spelling. The herb or essential oil of juniper may be used for meditations, rituals, or as a humble offering dedicated to the Black African god Noon and his balancing, nurturing helpmating goddess Nunet. Juniper berry or conifer comb is available in a tea form, and it comes in essential oil that can be used for aromatherapy, which is what I'm burning now for the full moon. Can you see this on the camera?
Yeah,
It's too
it's hard
little.
to. It might.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you can get the essential oils.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I keep some juniper berry when I just want to, unwind, relax, reflect, meditate on our ancestors, and I'm building on
Check.
different spiritual principles.
Yes, sir.
Now, this herbal essential oil, like I said, you can use this for the meditations, rituals, or humble offering dedicated to Noon and Nunet.
Mm.
Now, the goddess Nunet embodies, let's see here. What time, praise? How are we looking on time?
We doing good, man. Be about close to an hour. Not even an hour yet.
Okay,
48. Mm-hmm.
let's go into some more symbolism on Noon so we can get a better understanding of this. Now, the Medu Neter word NU, new, means residents of the noon, those who are in the noon. The concept of noon and life emerging from a primordial black ocean was portrayed in several different ways. And I have an art background. I going to school for that. So I love showing so many different artistic expressions for what we're trying to convey through our ancestors. Now, in Kemet, also known as Tamiri, in some instances, it is the netter, believe it or not, Haru, depicted emerging from a lotus flower that represents the primordial waters of Noon. So
Mm.
often we do not see the aspect of Noon and Nunet where Haru is featured
Ah,
in the acts of pre-creation and what arises from that. So here we have the Remet or Egyptian evolutionary depictions of life emerging from the primordial waters. And here, if we see here from the temple carving, here we see young Haru. We see him with his finger to his mouth. And if you pay attention right here, let's go a little bit lower, you'll see he's sitting on a lotus flower. You see this lotus?
yes.
Like you see that? Now pay attention. If you go to the bottom of this lotus, you see this protruding right here?
Yeah.
That's a merglyph. And that's the exact same merglyph that's used to spell the netter noon. It's a water channel glyph. So here you see a base glyph associated with Nu, and you see this lotus right here emerging from it. The glyphs are juxtaposed, so if you don't know what you're looking for, there's no way you're going to notice this, especially on a temple relief. This is from Tutankhamun. Now, this is Haru child emerging from the primordial lotus flower, which itself is emerging from, again, the Mur water canal. So up under him is a water canal, and this is also typically you seen in spellings for moon. Now, this is also sculpted Tutankhamun's head here to the right, emerging from the M9 lotus flower glyph. If you want to look up this glyph to see how it looks. Now,
Right.
you can go and find this is at the Cairo Museum. This was collected from Cairo with the various depictions of creation featuring the goddess Noon and Nunet. Now, one of the plural terms for forefathers or ancestors in Kemet is Enihat. Eniuhat, which is like several ways to pronounce it, whether singular or plural. Indeed, the Enihat of the human species first emerged and proceeded to biologically evolve from the nurturing bodies of water on planet Earth. The Netter Noon and the Netter Nunet refer to a quantity in a form of field that has a value for each point in space and time. It is a way to describe how forces like electromagnetism, gravity, act in a given region. In addition, the black goddess and gods in Kemet that are depicted as a unified husband and wife team, they correspond to scientific forces and fields that have been discovered and undiscovered. Fields are central to modern physics, helping to describe the behavior of matter and energy in the universe.
This is heavy, man.
Now, if
Man,
you'd like to go a little bit further, we can. If not, we can stop, reflect, and build on that. Well, I'm checking for time. You know, once I get to going, that time gets to flowing so fast.
yes, sir. Let me see if any questions in the comments. Let's see. High noon or low noon. Okay. High noon. High noon and low noon. I wonder what's that what you're saying, brother. That's interesting. High noon, low noon. And now when he said that too, it made me think because noon, when you think of high tides and stuff, when he said that, but I
Yeah,
know that's right. But I mean, it
and
just,
with this being a full moon, that's deep. Now we have to
yeah.
remember when we're talking about tidal forces, water on this planet. Technically, now this is deep. There's no such thing as a high or a low tide. Technically, what we experience as humans at ground level as the tidal forces coming in and out in these high tidal waves is actually an envelope of water that the planet Earth is naturally enveloped in. It's a water shelf. And the actual tidal force that the moon has on the Earth, can you see me in the picture box?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so imagine this is the moon, Earth.
Yeah.
So as the moon rotates around the Earth, it has its gravitational pull. It rotates around the Earth, and the Earth is already covered in a water envelope. So
Mm,
as the moon rotates around the planet Earth, it's pulling the planet into the water that's already surrounding it. And as the moon makes this rotation, we're coming in and out of an envelope of water that's an envelope, a water shelf around the planet Earth. See, we have to remember, first of all, we have to understand what the moon is. As our planet began in the infancy phases, hold on,
that's
uh,
crazy though. Like that, hey, y'all, like I said, thumbs up. Everybody in here who's not been in here, thumbs up. We
so
need
yeah,
these
like
likes.
so when our planet Earth started in its hot molten phase. Now this is after all the heavy metals sunk to the core, like gold, iron, copper, and then as the heavier metals sunk to our early planet, as it was formed in a hot molten lava-like state, all the lighter materials begin to rise. We don't think of them as light, but rocks are light, and they begin to rise or whatever,
Mm,
and they became the core and became our surface or whatever. Now, the moon doesn't have much iron in it. So when we look at the moon, it almost looks like a hollow, raggedy sphere or whatever. So how did we get the moon? What the moon actually is as our Earth was forming and all the heavy metals sunk to the core to begin to make our planet fertile and have a crust, we had an impact from an object that was the size of almost Mars. This impact knocked off the original forming crust of our planet. During this phase, a brief time, the outer hull of our planet was cast off. And believe it or not, if you track back at the early times record of Earth, you will see that it had a small ring just like Jupiter. So just like how, I mean, Saturn has a ring around
Right.
Saturn, at
Right.
once our Earth had a small ring for a small period of time after this massive object the size of Mars hit Earth, changed its orbit, cast off a section of Earth's crust, put it around Earth's orbital rotation, just like the rings of Saturn. Shortly after, these rings, because there was two different materials, you had the crust from the Earth and you had some material from the crater or the meteor or this massive stellar object that hit us that came together, and they had different gravity influence. As they rotated, that coalesced and condensed into the moon that you see today. When the Earth finally got water, originally it was outrageous. The moon was 20 times closer to the Earth, and the tidal forces were 20 times stronger, and this planet was consumed with water slushing. And then as the moon started to move away, slowly but surely, it calmed down our planet, stabilized our waters. Now, when the gravity got stronger on Earth because it has more mass, what happens is originally the moon rotated and spun around just like Earth. It had an axis. But when the gravity got so strong on Earth, at a certain point, it literally locked our moon in and stopped it from rotating, which is why you don't see the dark side of the moon anymore. But when you go into the immediate upper outer brinks of outer space, the later after the Apollo missions, when you bring back the rock samples, you'll see indeed that the only reason that the structure we call the moon is able to stand the test of time and not erode is because it's got its iron from a different major impact source. And we can also see from rocks floating in outer space from that old ring system that used to be around the planet. We can tell that two different objects came together to form that moon. And then just cosmic destiny, if you will, luck, fate, however, solidified our orbits. And then our moon and our Earth, the dance it does became a stabilizing dance.
Wow, that's crazy. Hey, that got, hey
Now
man,
in Kemetic, the moon is called Kansu, and these are some of the tensions when you start seeing these wars of the gods and these
hold on. You say it was called what? You said the moon was called what?
Kinsu,
Kansu. Okay,
Kansu, and then at one point it was Iwat, if I'm not mistaken.
I
There's
got you.
various terms for it.
Oh, that's kind of heavy, man. That's kind of heavy, man. I'm surprised, man. I ain't got no more questions than this. Y'all ain't got no more questions because I mean, a lot of this, I don't know. Like I said, hey, like brother, when brother come on, he usually always dropping it from another angle anyway. So I am telling you, man. But go ahead. I know we kind of got off track on that, but
Now, would you like to go farther on noon briefly?
yeah, I mean, if
Or
you want to, yeah, I mean, hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. You know
okay,
what I'm
we'll
saying?
go now. Let's see here. Now, often uh, we often talk when we talk about Kemet. There's always amongst European and Western scholars, there's always this notion that various African nations, African populations, that they did not interact, that they did not converge, that they did not even establish a extra dialect in Kemet. But what we find is that our traditions in Kemet, they were not specifically quote unquote Kemetic. What you see is a an amalgamation, a congregation of some amazing African nations coming together to make Kemet great.
Mm.
And you see these names, these concepts, these gods, these goddesses. You see these same principles, even the concepts. You can tell where these former residents took. You see what they took as they left. Now, the language, cosmology, philosophy, and spiritual principles, believe it or not, the Congo. It's time because we don't talk about the Congo. But the
No, we
Congo region of Central Africa can provide more insight into the cosmology of North African Kemet than an Asiatic culture ever could.
how? Oh, don't let the don't these supremacists. They like nothing came out of the sub-Saharan.
You're right. Nothing came out of the Sub-Saharan, nothing came out of West Africa, nothing comes out of the Congo. But here we find knee deep in Central Africa that if you want to understand the actual initiation, the higher adept initiation, the secret society, the mystery teachings, that what we saw in the temples of Kemet, we find those alive and well in Congo, in Central Africa. They provide more insight into North African Kemet. Keeping this fact in mind, we shall take a small glimpse into the Congo spiritual outlook before we continue. Now,
Okay.
here's a great source. According to the text, Death and Invisible Powers, The World of Congo Belief. This is 93 publication. This is Simon Baki. We have other scholars that talked about this, but I thought this was good because it's very good information and it's just well written. Now, we have Nunu and Kemet, but among the Congo, they call them Mahungu. I'm sorry. Now, this is the first man. The names are similar. Now, this is the first man was a complete being, a duplicate of God, containing both genders and possessing the knowledge of God's secrets. Because Mahungu, which is the Congo term for the first human being after creation, proved to be irresponsible, God withdrew and allowed human beings to suffer without constant attention. But taking
Mm.
pity on them, he brought them death so they could return and through desire effort gradually become godlike.
So reincarnation.
Reincarnation. We see this in the Congo with Mahungu, us as being freshly created by, the one most high. Those who have reached the status are in effect the new Mahungu. They are complete or grown up human beings. They have become little gods. The
Mm.
term ancestor is reserved solely for this class of beings, of people who have worked hard to become better people, to learn the mysteries, to uplift their community and families. Not everyone who has gone before can be called an ancestor.
Facts.
Ultimately, when ancestors lose their earthly existence completely, when no living being is able to remember them, and when their personality is no longer incarnated in newcomers, they are called Nukunkum Kunyungu, light, which is related to the reigning Kemet term Ak, spirit, or Aku.
Mm. That's deep.
Now we should
Reincarnation.
Now we're gonna get deeper into the Congo cosmology to shed light because I just wanted to show you how they looked at man in this creation. Now, anthropo- an- I'm stuttering. Anthropological linguistics demonstrates that the language of Kikongo is genetically related to the Medu script of Kemet, which means what does that mean when I say that Kikongo is genetically related to the Medu script? Meaning that at one point in time, these people from the Congo of Central Africa were residents. They sought domicile, they were citizens of Kemet.
Okay.
They were under the jurisdiction of Kemet, and they themselves established a dialect of Medu that reflected their ancestral background, their cultural background, merged with Kemet. So,
Mm.
when we look at the key Congo language of the Congo, the related or the cognate word for noon or the celestial ocean, the deity noon, is Mbungi. So instead of Nunu, Nunu became Mbungi in their
Gotcha.
language. I'd have
Gotcha.
to do a linguistic background later on to show you how the terms switch up and they cross over in a different language.
Gotcha.
Now, this means that the people of the Congo have continued some of the same terminology and ancient veneration of the cosmology system of the Netter Noon, which they now call Mbungi in the living language of Kikongo. So today, this language is spoke in the Congo. So now let's get deep into the mystery systems, the spiritual system, and the cosmology, because I don't see too many people deal with the Congo at all.
At
They're
all, bro.
demonized, like they could never produce this, they couldn't comprehend that. So, as a great reference, let's go to our great scholars from the Congo. The indigenous African scholar named Dr. Fukiao Kimbambawe. I always murder his name. He's a great scholar. But Dr. Fukiao was born in Minaga in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So he's a native. This scholar is a native of the Congo. And as a matter of fact, one of my teachers and scholarly mentors has been in contacts with this brother and was an understudy and everything of Dr. Fukiao, Brother Imhotep. Now, he has been definitely initiated into the three major African education systems or secret societies. This brother is initiated into the Lemba, the Kimkimba, and the Kimpasi secret societies. If you know, you know. The Lemba people of the Congo, their initiation, their cosmology, their spiritual system, this is an amazingly beautiful and in-depth spiritual system that merges spirituality and science and community and family principles. Now, in his book entitled African Cosmology of the Bantu Congo, this is page 17, Dr. Fukiao, he informs us that in reference to the cosmology of the Bantu Congo, the Mbungi, which is Noon and Kemet, and he talks about that. He speaks on the direct correlation between the language of Kikongo, spoken in Central Africa amongst the Congo, and Kemet. He goes deep into that because he's also a linguist. Now, artistically depicted as a straight line. Now, again, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Nunu in the Congo, when he's represented as Mbungi in their secret society, when they want to depict him and teach this to the initiates, he's depicted as a straight line called an Enlunga, Lukongolo, a skyline with an empty circle. The line within the Mbungi empty circle is a cosmic line of demarcation that is called an Enlunga line in the Kikongo language. The Enlunga line is also called Lukongolo, again, skyline. Now, among the Bantu Congo, the Mbungi is a symbol of emptiness or an invisible world without much or any visible, scientifically detectable life or activity. The Inza, because in the Congo, in Kemet, the world is called Gad. Amongst the Congo,
Right.
it's Inza.
Okay.
And its beginning was empty. It was an Mbungi, an empty thing and a cavity without any visible life. The key attributes of the ancient Egyptian god Noon are expressed in the Mbungi. Now, according to the African cosmology of the Bantu Congo, which provides more insight and understanding to Kemet, the Inza world became a physical reality floating in Kalunga, or in endless water within the cosmic space. Half of our world and universe emerged for terrestrial life, and the other half was submerged for aquatic life and the spirit realm. Where have we heard this story? So just as we hear
Nice.
in the most sacred halls and initiations of Kemet, when we go to the Congo and Central Africa, here it is. So now let's get into the sacred symbols and sacred geometry of the Bantu Congo. Here, geometrically, because the Bantu Congo uses a lot of geometric shapes and symbols to convey their teachings. So here we see the sacred sigils. Now, take notice as we go from this to that. Any Freemasons in the house? What are we doing? They're squaring the circle. They're squaring the circle. In the Bantu cosmology, they square the circle on their way to creation.
Square in the circle.
So we'll move
Valentine.
forward.
Brother Phil Valentine.
You know what I'm saying? Check.
Yeah. Check.
Check. We square in the circle. So here's the Mbungi, Noon, and Kemet depicted as an Enlunga, a straight line within an empty circle. So that in Lunga I told about, that force is represented as a line in these phases. The Bantu concept of God is a principle of Kalunga, which represents wielded opposite forces, positive and negative. The word Kalunga extends itself to mean ocean. It is a door. So just like noon, Kalunga, it also means ocean in various, it's just like how we look in a dictionary for American terms. There may be five definitions for one word. This is what we're looking at now. And this ocean, Kalunga, it's a door and a wall between the physical and the spiritual realm. This line is the door between the physical and the spiritual. Kalunga became the idea of immensity, what they call sensale in Congo, that a human being cannot measure an exit, an entrance, source, and an origin of life. It represents the potentialities of life and the principal God of change and the force that continually generates. If you notice, these symbols are starting to change. The Kalunga fire force forming from a powerful singularity emerging in the center of the Nlunga line in order to activate and stimulate the Mbungi. So remember how we talked about the Big Bang Theory, how our universe emerged from a singularity, a point within a circle, an undefined space, and from this point exploded life as we know it, and slowly cooled down and settled into the raw physical elements that we build life with, atoms, molecules. This is how it's depicted in the Congo as the initiates are taught and introduced to the mysteries of life, how creation came into being, how this universe was formed, how these forces interplay to create us and shape our life as we know it. The Mbungi, Noon, and his black wife Nunette and Kemet is the emptiness and nothingness of the subjective realm. So just how Noon and Nunette were in a subjective realm before creation, we see these concepts in the Mbungi. So in the language of Kikongo, the Kalunga is also a powerful celestial fire force, which is complete all by itself that emerged within the Mbungi and then ultimately became the source of life in our physical universe and on planet Earth. Now, in this capacity, Kalunga fire force corresponds to the attributes and qualities of the Egyptian sun god Ra and Atum. Remember, if you look at how the Kalunga fire force, I didn't have time in this text to get fully in depth with all the language of the Congo. When the Congo speak of this fire force emerging, it's verse for verse, almost the exact same quote you see Atum or Atum Ra in his cosmology of creation as he emerges from the watery waves of Noon and Nunette, you know what I'm saying, on the first mound that became Earth and everything. Now, the Kalunga fire force, as we said, corresponds to the aspects of the quantum bang or Big Bang in Western European Big Bang creation theory of our living universe. Here, this is the ultimate phase of what we see with the Mbungi. Now, if we look at this symbolism that's revealed to our priests, priestesses, and the initiate, the physical universe, when this exploded, the explosion that went up became our physical universe. The stars, the galaxies, these black holes, these quasars.
It's crazy.
Again, we're squaring the circle. We're squaring the circle.
Yes, sir.
The physical universe is up and the spirit realm is down, manifesting within Mbungi or Noon and Kemet after a cosmic explosion emerging from a singularity. So here again, the Big Bang Theory, what our scientists are just now speaking on in the Western world, our ancestors in the Congo had this long before Einstein came, long before there was a general theory of relativity and a Big Bang theory. Our ancestors had this knowledge, but it was revealed to the initiate. Kalunga is the principal god of change, biological evolution, and a force of emotion. The heated fire force of Kalunga exploded upwards and downwards simultaneously in the form of a colossal storm of projectiles producing a huge mass infusion within the cosmic jurisdiction of the Mbungi. Now, the Mbungi is a very accurate and ancient scientific African demonstration of modern subatomic physics. You're looking at subatomic particles interacting to create larger, more dense, complicated elements and materials that would later coalesce to form these planets, suns. So, like how you said, like with the elements, hydrogen. Hydrogen is essential. So imagine this explosion, this singularity, erupting hydrogen. And imagine these particles just alone as helium. What do we have with that alone right there? We have the makings for a sun, family. Hydrogen and helium are the key ingredients to get nuclear fusion going and build a sun.
Right. Right.
So here we go. The Mbungi is the accurate sign. According to the Bantu Congo cosmology, the number of mass and fusion particles that remain hanging up in the upper space. Now, the Mulelulungunu, this is the upper, this is what this region is called in the Congo. Now, that region, after the Kalunga exploded within the Mbungi, established the formation of the planet Earth that human beings in our Bakulu. Now, in the Congo, our ancestors are called Bakulu. So when we give praise and libation to our ancestors and want to acknowledge Central Africa, we acknowledge the Bakulu, which came before us.
Yes, sir. Bakulu.
So from the Mbungi comes Earth, and from the Earth, with the blessing of the Mbungi, come our ancestors, the Bakulu, and they evolved through this. This upward explosion also formed the Ntangu, the sun. Now, believe it or not, the word Ntangu is cognate and literally the direct representation of the Neter Atum-Ra or Atim in Kemet. Because Etim, and you can see it right here, the time. I go deeper when I get into my next future text, when my next text on Ra and the key solar deities of Kemet.
Yes.
And throughout outer Africa, I show how literally Ntangu is a title of Atim, or another manifestation of Ra in the sky.
Gotcha.
And then we have in the Congo, since it's a full moon, Ngonda is a term for the moon.
Ngonda.
And Mbwiti, stars. So what we see in this explosion is Ngonda and Mbwiti. Moon,
so out of this come the moon and the stars. Right. Right. Moon and the stars.
That's what we're bear witnessing to on this beautiful full moon tonight.
Yes, sir.
Now, understanding what we're saying. When we say Mbungi, where did this word come from? What is this word built on? Now, when we understand the Bantu Congo Mbungi through comparative linguistics, we find in Kemet, North Africa, the word for Mbungi is Wawet, people, nation. In Bassa, we have Mbal. These are still other African language, which means, and these are the other terms for Mbongi and throughout Africa.
Gotcha. Right. And this is
Now,
all
in the Hausa
Bantu.
language, it's Mbal, cosmos, nation, village. In Douala language, it's Iboko, family, Boko, assembly. You notice how just when I showed you, these terms always mean family. And remember when I showed you that picture of Noon and that massive ocean of water?
Yes.
That term implied family, community. Now, in the Yambasa language, it's Mbogo, which means society. In Chaluba, which is a Bantu language also, in Chaluba Bantu, we have Bukwa, belonging to an ethnic group, together, group, species, genus, system. So now when we look at the Mbongi, what this term is also a reference to, and we can use the Bassa language to confirm this, is Mbog le Mbog. Even the smallest universe is what that translates to. So when we look at Mbongi, some of the notions of what the word Mbongi means in the Congo means even the smallest universe or empty set in a mathematical sense, the almost empty. And so involved, almost empty. It looks empty like there's nothing there, but there's still elements that can be sparked for creation. The universe new, or the universe down to its barest essential dimension, the infinite set, which is called in Congo Imbog in Imbog. Imbog ni Imbog, I'm sorry, is that's referring to the infinite set of this or whatever. Or the universe within the universe, the Imbog ni Imbog. Universe within the universe, insignificant, indeterminate, because it is yet to be.
Hmm.
So that's giving you a sense of when we see the term Mbongi and also Mbog, Mbogo, Bukwa. These are other Bantu languages and Congolese languages. And this is when they use their dialect, this is what the term comes as. It's the same word, just different dialect. So we have a deeper understanding of what was going on in the Congo because our brothers in Central Africa are brilliant. And they literally came out of Kemet and they carried the sciences with them. Now,
So, oh, go ahead, go ahead, go
oh,
ahead.
no,
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 go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, like, when you say that, you feel like they left, like they left because of invasion, or you think they just
Some were
left?
just natural migrations. And then you had a lot of natural disasters. People forget about floods, famines, malaria, disease outbreaks, plus invasions and things of this nature, and natural migratory patterns and everything. Just
Gotcha.
like how we have Silicon Valley here in America was booming for years. Now you see the same brilliant minds that were investing in Silicon Valley. They're going back to India. They're going back to Japan, and now you're seeing in India and Japan Silicon Valleys pop up, and they're
Right.
they're they're bringing what they contributed to building up our infrastructure based on technology. They're bringing it back and incorporating their their full cultural expression that they don't have to step down or shy away from here in America working under Europeans or whatever.
Mm.
But I have so I have another text. I got a text focusing on West Africa and Bantu, and I show the linkage and I talk. I give primary sources about from various West African tribes that talked about some of the circumstances that caused them to leave Kemet. And
So this right here coming out of this coming out the Book of Illumination Part 2, or
yes, this is the Amen Ra Illumination Volume 2.
yeah, I mean I'm in Robert Illumination. Right. Okay, so y'all, y'all need to check this book out, man. This book is you going in. This is just a glimpse of what we, of the book, and he already breaking down like what we call creation, and the creation story and the Big Bang is really coming from our ancient ancestors. I
Yes,
mean,
we
you
had
know,
the Big Bang Theory just as cleanly, elegantly, intelligently, and poetically as Albert Einstein, that Jewish scholar, just as well as a Jewish scholar taught the Big Bang Theory. Our African ancestors in the Congo had that centuries before that man ever walked the face of the earth.
so my question is, like, how did they get this information? Like,
And
what the?
this is what I cannot understand. Now, I have some stuff now in future lectures I want to talk about, but I would imagine they speak of entering transcendental states and things being revealed to them through various rituals and
Right.
their studying. So, you had very precise scientists, astronomers, but this level of detail and insight is just unbelievable.
And so let me ask you this, because this information was it given to like the population of Kemet, or was this basically the priesthoods?
I
And
would
if it
imagine,
was, what kind of priesthoods was it?
right? I would imagine this is mostly the educated class because you had a large part of the population that was illiterate or whatever. So it's like the Kemet existed in a dual reality in their society. Often, like when we talk about Kemet, we talk about the great kings, the wealth, the gold. But the reality is they had two. They were almost like teachers, and at the end of the school year, they had another job. So you have the normal functioning life in society, and then the other half of the year they were agriculturalists. So there was a duality. So you had one phase where you would go about your daily affairs, but they were also in the same breath agricultural society. So that all often took precedent over education. They would rely on the priesthood and the seshu, which is the term for your scribes, or you had the seshu were great scribes, which were your royal scribes directly up under your Nisut Bidi, what the Greeks called the Pharaoh.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe this was in your higher halls of knowledge, and that's why Socrates, Plato, Pythagoras, that's why they all had to become initiated to get let into the higher halls because they couldn't do anything with the information. It had to be taught, explained. They did not understand our signs, our symbols, especially when it gets into the higher sciences. And in another book, when I break down quantum mechanics using the goddess, I show how they use some of our key hieroglyphs to use the actual symbols for their formulas in quantum mechanics and string theory and things of this nature. And I show you how they literally went to some temple walls and took the glyphs that we use to explain the creation of the universe or to explain a quantum reality. They took key glyphs off the wall and incorporated into their teachings and their scientific methodology.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's a different lecture for a different day because in that one, instead of tying into the Congo, I'll be tying Kemet, and we're going to have to get into the secret society and initiation of the Dogon priesthood because their priesthood is amazing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely that's the show right there. Doggone the doggone.
Oh, whoa, that's some heavy science and spirituality.
So let me ask you. I mean, because we talk about Kemet and we're talking about Kemet now and this understanding of the creation and how is this play? How is this for us like Kemet? Because I mean, what the people of Kemet are they us today? Or are they? I mean, like, how do they
Well,
relate?
predominantly, what we see in our primary text when we think of the actual identity of Kemet, you have Nilotic cultures along the Nile, but primarily what we see as defining ethnic identity of Kemet or the Remetu is actually peoples and African populations from the Great Lakes region. I talk about that in Amen Ra Illumination Volume 1 with sources. So primarily, when you want to look at the actual identity of Kemet, you see it's a culmination of these amazing African communities coming from the Great Lakes region. And then you see a trickle down too from Central, you see trickle down from West Africa too, because anytime you have a great hub or center of technology and learning, it's going to attract great minds from all over.
This is true. And they say, and what's crazy is when we learn in history, they talk about even like in Greek time, how people from all over the world was coming to Kemet to learn. So it's like, well, everybody but sub-Saharan African is coming.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't they come? If everybody else is coming from around the world, why would sub-Saharan Africans come? And I don't know, man. It's just it's crazy how I see a lot of racism.
Scientific racism.
Yeah, scientific racism and like just like a lot of people who are non melanated in that way, like very lightly melanated, if you would. How they are the way they look at history, how they look at history, how they look at Egypt, Kemet is so far away, it's segregated from the rest of Africa, and there's no way that they could have penetrated. It's like how they act like sub-Saharan Africa is impenetrable.
Right.
You travel from there. I
Right.
don't.
They act like it's on an isolated island or something, and it's just I could never understand this. And it's like in order to understand and begin to understand a lot of the complex terminology and concepts of Kemet, you first and foremost have to primarily use your comparative research with the language with Bantu speaking peoples, which are predominantly from Western Central Africa. So when we line up the terminology, when we line up the language of Yoruba, we find quickly that it's genetically related to Kemet, and that at one point it was a regional dialect in Kemet, because the words are just they're too similar. And when the words look different, it's only because the prefix and the suffixes are different. So say like I use the word running. To make it plural, I add ing to let you know that I'm in the act of running. Now, let's pretend running is Kemetic. If I say running, that's what it is, ing. But now you're coming from West Africa. You're coming from the Yoruba. When you say the word, you would never, in your language, your grammatical layout, you would not use suffix to make something plural. Your language, your grammar is reversed. Your suffix becomes a prefix. So you would say ingrun,
Okay, I got
in,
you.
or say run backwards,
Right.
ingner. And you're like, oh man, that's a totally different word. And it's like, no, it's just a mirror reflection. Your
Mm,
prefix is my suffix. And this particular sound that you have, when I take this regional dialect of Kemet and I take it here, it's the exact same thing. It's just we can't pronounce that. So your T becomes a D, or sometimes you hear certain words that sound the same or whatever, and they get crossed over or whatever. Like we've heard verses of songs, you think they're saying one thing and they're saying something totally different. When you look up the actual text for the verse or the piece of the song that you've been singing all this time, you think it's one thing and it's something else. Like some of Michael Jackson's verses, you think he's saying one thing, you look at the subtitle, it's like, wait a
Mama
minute,
say, Mama say, Mama
it's
kusa.
something totally different, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's the situation we're dealing with. But it tears me up, like when I see these scholars try to separate West Africa, the Congo, Central Africa from the greatness of Kemet and all of our great African side. I don't understand it because they have nothing to stand on. And even when you look at E.A. Wallace Budge and his most famous text, he even had to admit, we'll have to go over that one time. I have to cite his sources where he gives credit to the African nations and African tribes that he had to go and consort with to understand Medu Neter. He himself admitted that he found no solutions to his problems of translating and understanding the rituals, philosophy, secret societies, Kemet. He could not find any answers in Asiatic, in China, Europe, and all these, even in Middle Easterns or whatever. You don't find
Interesting.
answers in Iraq to what our ancestors were doing in the quote unquote Middle East or in Eastern Asia or in these areas. The concepts, the terms don't add up. But amongst Bantu speakers in West Africa, we
That's
can
interesting.
literally line up Medu Neter, the terms, step by step in most instances or whatever. Even when
So,
we start talking about some of the Orisha, well, that'll
okay.
be a depth of them. I'm working on that book.
Ah, yes,
I
yes.
want to get into without ruining it, some of the first temple reliefs of ancestral veneration that some of our ancestors from West Africa looked at and brought that with them and became certain Orisha that we look at and celebrate today. And then we'll be able to look at how some of the Igbo, which is Yoruba term for offering or sacrifice, how that concept, how you can look right at certain temple walls of Kemet, and you can see how some of these principles directly funnel down to the Yoruba and how they reenact them perfectly with the same
Mm,
language, the same symbolism. They may not do it the same way. But when you look at certain rituals and offerings that they do, I can take you to a temple carving and show you that somebody from West Africa was in Kemet. They may not have been able to read and write, but they were able to look at those glyphs and reenact the scenes exactly.
Interesting. Interesting.
And we see the ones that spoke the language of Kemet and retained the language of Kemet, and it became, blended in and synchronized with later dialects of Yoruba while it was still a living spoken language.
Hey man, that's deep. That's deep. I mean, like, when you say that, like when you look at Yoruba and then you like, okay, and then you look at how it came over here to the Americas or whatever. That whole, like, it's like Kemet is still living through even now, like, through Santeria,
True.
and different things like that. So it's heavy, man. It's heavy, man. Hey, we dropping some science today. Y'all check out the brother books, man. Like, I'm gonna put this stuff back up. Y'all check out Amen Maat-Ra books. Y'all check out all our books. Like we said, they're on Amazon and they're on indigenousmoorish.org. So y'all can go there and check out our books, his books, and like King L. Bay's books and all our brothers' books, man. We dropping these things for y'all. I hope y'all enjoy what we've discussed today. I know it's been a minute. Like, me and the brother be on, man. We don't be getting together like we should, but I mean, like, when we do, we bring in a lot of heat, So if y'all got any questions, like, we do check the video, we do check the comments from here, from time to time during, period. So if y'all not live watching this and y'all got questions, then feel free to, leave comments later. We appreciate the people that came on and that ask questions and things. But hey man, you know what? I love it, man. I don't know if you got anything else to add to that build on before we get
no, this is a great build, man. I appreciate it coming, man. I appreciate the invite, man. Always a pleasure to be. Like I said, I don't know why it took so long for us to get back together and drop something for the people. Just life, and that time just flew by so fast.
I know, man. I know. We appreciate you, man. And let me see. Hold on. Let's see what's in the comment. Like I said before, we get up out of here. Yes. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for being up on here and checking it out and sticking through it all. But like I said, we got the brother. We're gonna have some more stuff. And y'all want some more of his stuff? Check out his books and stuff. And we got a lot more coming this way on this information and more. So, like I said, we're gonna end it out here, man. Appreciate love. Appreciate you, brother. I'll be rapping with you soon. And y'all check out the comment, not the comment section, but y'all check out the you know what I'm talking about. Like, y'all go into our box. If y'all need any information, it should be in our link. So with that being said, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace and love.
Peace.